we all started pointing fingers. Why don't you run for mayor? Why don't you run for mayor? Why don't you, we're all pointing fingers and laughing and joking about it. But I went home and I really thought about it. And then when people, like within the community and prior to running for council, I was asked, people had said, you should run for mayor now. And I said, no, no, it's okay. I'm fine on the council. But those same people were phoning me back, and then others were phoning. And I finally, it's like, okay, I think I could do it. I think I would really like to do it.
Welcome to the Cross Border Interviews, the show where we dive into the insights of municipal political leaders from across Canada. Now, our mission on this show, quite simple. Shine a light on the dedicated individuals who day in and day out work around the council table to shape the communities that we call home. And for today's episode, we are honored to be sitting down and speaking with Haines Junction Mayor Diane Strand. The village of Haines Junction lies at the edge of the vast and spectacular wilderness and is a gateway to the Kluane National Park and Reserve. The village of Haines Junction, commonly referred to as the Junction by many of its 800 residents, is situated at the intersection of the Haines and Alaska Highway. Residents call Haines Junction home for many reasons, though, from access to wilderness to the connection to the land and the ancestors, and from being part of a community. Surrounded by a beautiful and rugged landscape, Haines Junction is a truly wilderness community and offers exceptional outdoor experiences for visitors and residents alike. Now, we are pleased to be sitting down with the mayor today because we are heading up to Haines Junction the day this airs. So we're going to be in Haines Junction for the next few days at the Association of Yukon Communities Convention, which Haines Junction is hosting. So we are looking forward to this conversation and getting up close and personal with Haines Junction while in attendance. So without further ado, here is Cross Border Interviews featuring Haines Junction Mayor Diane Strand. In the heart of every thriving community lies a well-crafted strategic plan. But crafting such a plan requires expertise, experience, and a deep understanding of local needs. Enter Strategic Steps, your partner in municipal strategic planning. Strategic Steps' team of experts have years of experience in municipal administration. At Strategic Steps, they just don't develop plans. They co-create homegrown strategies tailored to your unique community. They listen, they collaborate, they empower your community to thrive. Contact Strategic Steps today and take the first step towards a brighter future for your municipality. Call Strategic Steps at 780-416-9255 or visit strategicsteps.ca to get started. Diane, thank you so much for sitting down with me and talking about yourself and talking about the great community of Haines Junction, or as your locals call it, from what I read today, the Junction. I'm so excited to sit down and talk to you because, as I just mentioned in the introduction, we will be in Haines Junction for the 50th anniversary of the Association of Yukon Communities. So it's my pleasure to sit down with you and talk about yourself and your community before I get there. So I want to start by talking about you. I got to ask the simple question.
Okay.
Where did your sense of duty to serve your community come from, Diane?
Oh, that is a bit of a loaded question. It's this my sense of duty. Um, I am Indigenous. I am a member of the Champagne-Aniak First Nation, which is where the village of Haines Junction, the municipality of Haines Junction, is within that traditional territory. So Champagne-Aniak First Nations, we have quite a large traditional territory, but this is the home base of our traditional territory. I was the chief of my First Nation for back in 2006 to 2010. Prior to that, I was in, I guess you could say within a First Nations context that you kind of know where you're where you're kind of directed or where your leadership or whatever so not everybody is within leadership, but you know where you're going to be within a community context. So I've known from a very youngish age you know, now that I'm older, I was like, oh, that's what that was about. Whereas, at the time, being a child and teenager, I really wasn't paying much attention, right? So I think when you say sense of duty, it was there that it was my upbringing that had made me really go back and yeah, and it just something that was naturally placed. I come from a long line of leaders within my community.
Well, and that's where the initial follow-up question was going to be is, are you the black sheep of the family, or did you go into politics as a sort of the dark horse? How did you get your political instincts from your mom and dad? How did you decide that municipal governance after your career, after being chief, that's where you wanted to continue your service?
Well, interestingly enough, it wasn't that I've never really had a thought of going within municipal government.
You realize you're the mayor, right? Because I just
I
want to make I just want to make sure you did realize you're going to go into politics, and now you're the mayor. Circle that peg for me.
Well, being the chief of,
Yeah.
Champagne-Ajac is a government, we have our self-government agreement and, so we have these intergovernmental relationships within federal and territorial and some municipal. Like when I was the chief, it was some municipal, even though we shared the same town together.
Mhm.
So it wasn't, I've never really thought of being a mayor or even sitting on municipal council, even though when I first moved here to Haines Junction, like, oh, 35 years ago, I worked for the Village of Haines Junction in the office. I was in the administration. So I never, and I created council packages and I did all of that, but I never really thought that I would be sitting at that table because at the time, my focus was very much on First Nations governance. And so I worked with my First Nation for, for 25 years. And then I went off on my own. And it was, and of course, during that, like I'm a mother of three, grandmother of seven, and now everybody's gone and I'm, empty nesting and I don't have any, I was very much involved in the community. I was on so many boards and committees and, just the volunteering, whether it be with hockey or curling or, at the community hall. And, it's very cliche, but, like I'm sitting back and I'm like, I love this town. And, like it would be kind of neat to become involved in one way or another. Like, what is it that I could do? Because I was so far removed with my kids gone. Like, it seems that when you have children, you get that much more involved. And with my children gone, as I was so far removed from things, and then lo and behold, as things align, when an election came up 3.5 years ago or so, um, I was asked, to run in as a counselor. And I was like, wow, maybe I should, and yeah. And what happened there is the political juices that I didn't have, that was dormant for a while really started, springing up in me. So, and being on council, I really started to realize how much effective change or quick change or satisfactorily change could happen at the municipal level. And I loved it. And I loved it.
And this is where your story I find fascinating because you get elected for your first term 3 years ago. You run for re-election as counselor, and then just this year, so not even like 4 months after the last election, you run in a by-election. So you step down from council, as I think you're required to in the Yukon.
Oh,
You don't have to step down. Okay.
oh.
So you run for mayor of your community. You get thrust into the heart of what the village is all about when you become mayor of the community because you are now the spokesperson. You are the person that people look to say, lead us forward, lead us into sort of the economic prosperity that we want. Why did you decide to put your name forward for mayor in that by-election?
There was several reasons behind that. It was very unfortunate that our mayor at the time had to step down. That was quite unfortunate for us. And all of the councils from the Yukon descended into Whitehorse for a weekend, and without our mayor because he had resigned, but by then. And we ended up in the Yukon government and the Association of Yukon Communities came together, and they're bringing all of the mayors and councils and doing a training session with Christina Venti. And yeah.
Our past guest of the show.
Yes, exactly. And so what she brought us together with, team building and working, um, the four of us, the four counselors sitting there, were kind of realizing by the weekend's end is that, you know, we've really gelled together. We're a good team. And to have somebody new come in to plop in, um, it might do something, like it might disrupt, it might be great. We don't know. We don't know. It's the unknown.
Yeah.
So like everybody, we all started pointing fingers. Why did you run for mayor? Why did you run for mayor? Why did we're all pointing fingers and laughing and joking about it. But I went home and I really thought about it. And then when people, like within the community and prior to running for council, I was asked, people had said, you should run for mayor now. And I said, no, no, it's okay. I'm fine on the council. But those same people were phoning me back, and then others were phoning. And I finally, it's like, okay, I think I could do it. I think I would really like to do it. It would, yeah. So I had to carve some things away for me to be able to set the time aside to be able to do it. And then of course ask my family. I'm quite an involved grandmother, and I'm not as involved anymore. So,
Um,
yeah,
just correct me if I'm wrong. The by-election happened in March or February of this year.
uh, February.
So
No,
you
end of January. It was at the end of January.
okay? So that
And
I
then
can
we,
ask this
yeah,
question. You are coming up to your first 100 days in office. By the time this airs, this will be your first 100 days in office as mayor of the Village of Haines Junction. How has it been?
it's been interesting.
How so?
Well, because like thinking about what it was like when I was on council, and I knew that there was going to be a bit of a step up in terms of time commitment and having a bit of a chit chat with the previous mayor about, what's it, what was it like? And um, it it's much more involved than what I had expected it to be. But I was comparing this to the previous council. And yeah, so I really started thinking about this council is very involved, and the relationships that we have, like like we have text messages of, like we're getting together to we're doing a scavenger hunt for the AYC. And so it's like, okay, we need to we need to come together to develop this, we're doing things like that. Which I didn't do that with the previous council. We were yeah, there was other things that was happening with previous council. So this one, we're so much more involved. And the other piece is that we also have just finished, we decided after my by-election of the mayor, the position of counselor came up. So we had another by-election for counselor. So we waited for that person to come on, and then we ended up having Christina Benty come and do some more training with us and help us go through some council priorities. And so we're very much engaged and like really getting our hands into what it is. So that's the big difference. And I find it interesting, and I'm actually really thoroughly enjoying it.
I want to talk about the role of council and mayor and councillor for a few minutes, if you don't mind, Diane. And you're elected as councillor. You served 3 years. You're now mayor. I could imagine, and I'm going to say this respectfully, that you've had to make some very tough choices around that council table. And that is budget, that is planning, that is this, that, and the other. How do you make those tough choices? Because universally, you know that not everyone's going to be on your side for that decision that
Yes,
you've made.
yes.
How do you make the best decision for your community, knowing that not 100% of the people are going to be in favor of it?
Well, in how do I put this? That people may think that I'm a little bit woohoo in how I do things. I am quite spiritual and I do a lot of ceremony. And so and I meditate, I'm quiet, I smudge, I go into sweat. I do things of that nature to, and I do a lot of cleansing and clearing and things of that nature. So I make sure that my spiritual self is well taken care of so that I can walk into something with a clear mind. And yeah, so that's,
Is it important to have that clear mind when making those decisions? And I'm not even just saying the tough decisions, but even the easy decisions, because as a municipal councillor, as mayor, you know that you have to not go in with a prejudged set of a conclusion on any situation because you have to be open to hearing things.
yeah.
How important is it to have that clear mind on all the issues, even the ones that you are passionate about?
Very much so. I really need to, and I know that this is going to be coming up in various instances during my term when it comes to Champagne-Atiak First Nation and the reconciliation of, going through, we're going to be developing a reconciliation statement. What is our plan on that? And doing those kinds of things. Perhaps there might be a situation where we're going to have to make a decision that may not be comfortable for Champagne-Atiak First Nation. So I have to very much be able to compartmentalize and move that aside. And, I'm here for the Village of Haines Junction. And so I have to ensure that that is, and the only way that I know how to do that is to be very clear and calm and thoughtful of what it, like and on a practical matter in really tough decisions, I actually do a pro con list.
Really?
I do.
Do you,
I do.
when doing that pro and con list, do you get feedback from the general public of Haines Junction as well? Will you go out and request information from people who might have opinions on these issues that you're going to be voting on, or do you try and do it yourself and then let the people come to you if they are concerned about issues that are being raised?
No, I definitely go out. I will have casual chit chats. Many people may not know that this is what I'm doing, but I will have casual chit chats. Well, what do you think about this? Or what about that? And yes, I definitely want to get a flavor, a feel for what's happening in the community. Yeah.
Are people willing to give their feedback? Even if you ask for them without skirting the issue, you actually point and come out and blankly ask them right to the face, what do you feel about this issue? Do they understand? Because when I speak to mayors, and I'm going to paint a broad stroke here, so I
Yeah.
apologize right
Yeah.
now. When I speak to mayors and councillors from across Canada, I get there's an apathetic nature when it comes to municipal governance.
Mhm.
20 years ago, you'd find at least 5 to 10 people in a council chamber watching the council proceedings because they wanted to know. But
Yeah.
today, it'd be hard pressed to even see one person, let alone
Yeah.
like people tuning into a live stream. Do you get a sense that people want to engage about what the issues are municipally in Haines Junction?
Well, it's interesting that you say that because that switched big time in from prior council to this council.
Oh,
We've had in the prior council, it was, we like you said, there was nobody in the audience. And then near the last 8 months or so, there'd be like one or two people, and then the one person that was consistently showing up is now Councillor Bush. And she was coming because she wanted to know more about she was considering running, which was fantastic, that she was coming and really, doing her homework. So that had switched. And then we ended up with passing a zoning bylaw that was not um, so wholeheartedly accepted by some people within the community. And then they brought their friends and then more. And so pretty soon there was like, wow, there's like 20 people in, sitting at that other side. And
That's
then
all.
people started questioning things when they start listening, they're waiting to have that opportunity to be, to get their input on, when we get the question from the public, and they're waiting, and so they start listening to what's happening with other agenda items, and so then they come in. So it's kind of was a good thing that it started making them really question about other things. And so we now have a Zoom. We now have more people joining on Zoom and a few more people in the audience. It's died down now that several of the issues have been we've had we've had several issues. Like three big ones was our zoning bylaw, tipping fees, and an LTF. So those, really they're kind of died down now, but we still have remnants of people showing up. So yeah.
When you get people talking to you about issues that are going on in Haines Junction, and again, another broad stroke that I'm about to paint here, but it's one that I find infuriating in this country that there is a misunderstanding about what levels of government do what in this country.
Yes.
There's the territorial government, the federal government, the municipal government all have their jurisdictional purviews that they have to play within. You, as mayor, know what the municipality's purview is, and you don't try to overreach into territorial jurisdiction.
Right.
But I would I would be hard pressed to say that your local residents know who you are. They probably know who you are when they're at the grocery store or at the gas station or wherever in the community. If they see you, they know that you're the mayor. Might not know who the MLA is, may not know the MP verbatim, but they probably know of them, but they just don't see them on a day-to-day basis. How often do you find yourself talking about territorial issues or federal issues that are not in the municipal jurisdiction that you have to say, not our issue, go talk to them?
Well, being in the north and being in a small community, it is very that doesn't happen that often. It doesn't, yeah. It doesn't happen as often because people, and one of the benefits is that most people, everybody knows all of the MPs in the Yukon. Like
Yeah,
our
all
MP,
one.
yeah, or sorry, MLAs. Sorry,
Okay.
yes, all knows all of the MLAs, and everybody knows Brendan Handley, our MP too. But most everybody knows all of the MLAs, and we're fortunate in our riding. Our MLA, Wade Schenkel, lives in Haines Junction.
Oh,
You will meet him in when you come, so you will meet him. So
he's the
people
Minister of Community Affairs, is he not?
no, yeah, it's liberal right now, so
Uh,
he's in the opposition right now.
that's right. I
Yeah,
apologize.
yeah. So people know him, and so it is really clear, and he does post on Facebook. So people are, there is that distinction that people
Okay.
they have that, and I think it's, indicative of a small place, like the Yukon isn't that large, so it is clearly distinguished about, but there are a couple of crossovers, that people don't fully understand, when we had land development happen, we in here we had some clear cutting that happened with some land development, which is Yukon government that had done that with our input, but it was really what they did is not what we wanted to do, but of course
Yeah.
people came to us. So there's a bit of that crossover, but not much. Yeah.
I have one last personal question before I turn to the Village of Haines Junction as a whole. Now, life as a counselor, as a mayor in a small community is not a part-time job. You are on 24/7. You go outside your house, people know who you are, and they will probably stop you just to say hi. If you need to go get milk, you're probably going to spend a good hour at the grocery store or the convenience store getting that. Have you been able to strike that balance of just being Diane and then being Mayor Strand as well?
Oh, yes. Oh, very much so. Yeah. And it's interesting that I am not out and about within our community very much. Like when you say grocery store, we have you'll see, It's not a very large grocery store. So it doesn't take me an hour. It's just like 5 minutes in and out. Chances are I may or may not see somebody in there. Yeah, so it's very, yeah, the level of the community, I mean, our community is, like 800, 900 people, and then we have the peripheral that's not within municipal boundary, of course. But yeah, so separating myself from Diane to mayor and is easy when I'm in my home or when I'm at my cabin. And yeah, but it's interesting in that the roles that I play in my full-time job or the things that I do, um, they're very much intertwined. Like, well, okay, I'll come out and say it. I'm a workaholic.
Me too.
So, so I don't, like I have to really work hard on my own self-care, and to make sure that I take that time away, and my home is very much my sanctuary. So, yeah.
I want to turn to the Village of Haines Junction as a whole. And before I do that, I'm just going to preface this line of questioning with the following. This is a conversation between the mayor and myself. This is not a motion of council, not a direction of council, not a policy of council. She needs a majority of council members to vote for a certain thing to make any motion pass, policy pass, or to direct administration to do something. That being said, what she says is her opinion and her opinion alone. It may line up with what's going on at council, but at the end of the day, she is still one person, but she is mayor and she is the voice of the community. With that being said, thank you so much for those who
And
stuck
thank you
with
for
it.
saying that.
Oh, I get yelled at if I don't. uh, Mayor Strand, in your opinion, as of recording this at the beginning of April 2025, or actually the end of second week of April 2025, what do you believe is the biggest challenge or challenges facing the Village of Haines Junction today?
Our biggest is there's two things that's going on right now. One is asset management. Yeah, we have right now we have an Excel sheet of all of our assets and things that are, that is all the data that from 2016. I don't know, I'm not exactly sure. I can't remember. Our CAO might have told us when it was last really updated and, so that is our biggest challenge is asset management. We have right now um, uh, a community hall and a pool that is it's deteriorated like we're not used it's been shut down for several years, and it needs to be demolished. We've had the reports and it needs to be gone. So those are the challenges that we're facing right now. And the community really is wanting us to have a rec center, another pool. And they've been asking for this continuously from the last time when I was on council, and it was the council before, and it was been one of those. So we need to put this to bed this time around. We need to really look at all of our assets. We have several other buildings that we're not really quite sure where they're at. We're getting bit of reports from our fire department about, what they need. So asset management definitely is one of our biggest challenges that we have to be able to look at with an eye of how we're going to, with our budgeting, to see what we can do if we can have a rec center, if we can have a pool. We can't do much until that actually happens. So that's one of our biggest challenges. Our other is, and it's an organizational challenge in looking at our policy development and the level of service. So we haven't done that. And it's been wonderful having Christina Benti really help us and move us through. And I remember when I was a counselor 3 years ago, we were into our second year at the time, and we had her and we talked about level of service and how to, develop the policies to so that the community is aware, and our staff are aware of what they could do and not do, or what the levels are. And we never did that. We ended up in a little bit of a crisis mode. Previous council had three CAOs in their tenure. So yeah, it was quite a chaos management is what we were, So now we're happy with what we've got, and we're, coming back, and I'm like, yes, this is what's really important. We really do need to get our asset management in place and our organizational, the policy development with levels of service. We need to be able to do that, to be able to, then the community will be able to have a bit more understanding. Um, Besides the staff, we'll say, okay, now I can do this. And not, yeah.
So, gonna play a little devil's advocate with you for a
Yeah.
second, if you don't mind, because
Yeah.
those are two very inside baseball type of
Yeah.
problems that the community is facing.
Yeah.
I would imagine if I walked down Haines Junction, which I'm looking forward to doing in a few weeks or in a few days as this airs, and I asked people what asset management is, probably not a lot of people would know what that meant, or even the policy structure of Haines Junction. How do you get buy-in from the community? Because they're looking at the council and saying, we need to move forward. But you, as council, and you've laid it out quite clearly that you can't just go throw money at something and hope that it's going to solve it, because there's so many other unknown factors, known factors that you have to play into when you're looking at asset management to start off with. How do you get people to understand that while we're trying to grow our community, we need to work on some of the how the sausage is made type of stuff before it's actually made?
Right. We communicate to them about that. And one of the fun communication tools that we're doing right now is Facebook. So I go after every council meeting, I am on Facebook and I just say, hello, Duckwakata. That's the Haines Junction. Where here's what's happening in council chambers now. And so we go through and I pick three things. It's under 5 minutes. Pick three things and do a shout out so that everybody, and so that's one of the biggest tools that we're using right now in communication and communicating to people, because there are other things. You are right that there are other things that our citizens need to be aware of and what we're doing. That is different than, but in my mind, until we can get these things sorted, we're just kind of skimming the surface or just being alive, just managing right now, and giving people the information that, oh, okay, like just last week or the week before we had, the snow removal, like people were so upset with the slush and the snow. And so it's like, we heard you. Now we're fixing, so those kinds of pieces, yeah. So the more that we're able to communicate, the better. And of course, our council priorities, which we just finished, we're gonna waiting for the document to come out, and then that's gonna be fired out to everybody so that they could actually see what it is that is on our plates and what we plan to accomplish within the next 3.5 years now.
I am so happy, and I say this with respect. I'm so happy that to know that the Village of Haines Junction in the Yukon has the same issues around snow removal and slush that every other municipality in Canada deals with. Oh, I feel so connected when we talk about slush in April of 2025.
It's a
Um,
Canadian thing, eh?
um, while every community has its challenges, and they are two big macro issues that you've just mentioned that the municipality, again, inside baseball, needs to deal with to address it to ensure the viability of your community. If I talk to 100 people in the community, they will give me 100 different other issues that they believe is
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
How do you balance the needs of the many with the needs of the few? Because there are people probably in your community say that pothole in front of my house is the worst pothole ever. That stoplight in the that needs to last a little bit longer. We need a new store here, and they have individual issues that they believe is the most burning issue to them. But you know, and I know that you only have a certain amount of money you can spend every
yeah.
year. You cannot run deficits. You have to play within the money that you have. And you cannot raise taxes at 50 to 60% because I will show you a mayor who tried to do that and it did not end well for them. how do you balance the micro issues that are macro to the people of your community with the macro issues that you need to challenge you need to face up to when you're looking at those budget?
Well, first of all, I can hardly wait till you do come to Haines Junction because we have one store and we have no street, we have no lights. We have, so
I thought
there,
I thought I saw one when I was looking on Google Maps because I was trying to figure out where my hotel was in proximity to where I need to be. I was like, okay, I need to be here. How far is walking distance to there?
you can walk anywhere in Haines Junction. Okay, we are that small. Any of the hotels you can walk to the convention center. No, we are tiny. So I can hardly wait till you come and take a look and go, oh, okay, now I know what she's talking about.
I'm not laughing at your community. For those who are watching from Haines Junction, I'm not laughing. I'm just laughing at the fact that I think Haines Junction is this metropolis and you're like bursting my bubble right now. It's like, no, we're
Well,
not.
and the question that you're asking is quite metropolis, right?
Mhm.
Because when
But I
we
don't
know,
I would disagree with that though,
okay,
because there are people in your community that would probably believe that they have issues that the village could fix that is the most important to them. Now, I was using a metropolis
yes,
example about those
yes,
potholes, but I can imagine there's people who say, okay, my water rates are too high, my property taxes are too high, but if you do not collect property taxes, then I'm sorry, but you're not going to have services to fix a pool. You're not going to have services to
yes.
do this, that, or the other. So how do you balance the needs of the many with the wants of the full community?
Communication and honesty.
Is it hard to be honest in a small town?
Well, it isn't for me. And you can't because people will call you out on things, right? They do know, in a small place. And to really just lay it out to the people, and yeah, I'm not going to make you happy. And I come in knowing that, there's, a third of the people I'm not going to make happy. A third of the people I am going to make happy, and the other third is,
Going,
bloody
who are
ever.
you?
I was like, oh wow, I know that. And to be able to communicating to them and to be able to, like I'm not going to make people happy, but I have to be honest with them and say, I'm sorry that that is not a level of service that we can provide at this time.
Yeah.
When it comes to, the next budget cycle, we might be able to think about that. But let's, again, going back to, where does it sit within our policy? And we have to be able to lay that out. That's why I say it's one of our biggest challenges.
Yeah.
Until we can get those laid out, I won't be able to, be so forthright to say, I really don't know yet, and I
Yeah.
don't know yet because council hasn't had their full time of being able to hash things out.
And with with a concrete asset management plan, you can look at it and say, "Oh, that street that is of importance to you, John or Sarah, that's going to be done in 2 years because Peter's road over here needs a little bit more TLC than yours. So while we're going to get to it, you're going to see on the list of where it falls. We're going to work over here first." So I agree with you wholeheartedly on that. I am cautious of time, and I want to flip the original question on its head because while we all talk about challenges, because that's what sells newspaper print and that's what sells stories, we often forget to talk about the good things that are going on in our communities, the things that we look at and we say, you know what, we have our challenges, which every municipality does, but this is what makes our community unique. This is what is going right in our community. As the mayor, what is the accomplishment? What is the hope that you have for Haines Junction when you look at it and say, we have our challenges, but this is what we are about. This is what makes Haines Junction Haines Junction.
So again, to not to sound so cliche, it really is the people. It is absolutely incredible how diverse our community is. We have so many different pockets of people, and there's the skiing people, there's the biking people, there's the snow machine folks, there's there's, like the ones with the kids. There's so many different, there's the parks people, there's the not, there's so the diversity that we have is what really makes it actually makes me very happy in terms of what we can be able to accomplish because we can bring all of those incredible ideas together to to do things that we haven't done for a while, especially since COVID. Yeah. Um, and I know that you had mentioned to me before that tourism is like really, like something big for you. And I remember, 25 years ago that it was a big deal here in Haines Junction. We live what I call God's country, creator's world. Like it's beautiful here. And we're right on the precipice of Kluane National Park, and tourism was huge. We had this plan called the Windows of Opportunity and just bringing people here to this community. Well, that's died down now. And we don't have that. Tourism isn't something that is, really like huge for us. And we need to bring that back. And we have now, we just finished with our Chamber of Commerce elections. There's a new group there. So hopefully there's going to be some life that's going to be breathed through that. We have this in wonderful trail park group of people, and the diversity of that group. We now have a waste management like free store facility, and we've got a really cool group. So it's the people that I really, sometimes it could be the downfall, of having all of these, what somebody said, man, this town is so cliquey. And it's like, yeah, it is. But that's also the cool thing is that we have such a great diversity of the people. Yeah.
You mentioned it, so I'm going to play in that sandbox because it is my favorite subject, and I'm coming to Haines Junction. I think on the 23rd. The conference doesn't start till the 24th, and I've got a day to kill. So what should I be doing? Where should I be visiting? What are the hot spots in and around Haines Junction that if I come, I need to see at least once in my life to die a happy man?
Oh, wow. Like they're like, we do live in such an incredible region. Going up to Sheep Mountain to look at the mountains, like I don't know if mm, there might be some lambs coming down. Yeah, I don't know. Like, don't quote me on that. Down at Kathleen Lake, we have like if you like ice fishing, like there's some really like the scenery, the beauty of the place of just, going down the Haines Road is taking a drive down there. The scenery that we have is absolutely fantastic. And people like to go hunting, sorry, hiking. People like to hunt too, but like people, tourists like to go hiking and, going into the park. We have, yeah. I'm not, I, it's unfortunate that the Daku Cultural Center and our visitor center is not open. They don't open until May long weekend, is my understanding. I could be wrong on that, but that's traditionally when they open is May long weekend. So you're going to miss out on going to the cultural center and the visitor center because that is a fantastic place
I
to
thought I thought small town mayors have the pull and they can just open them
you
up
know what?
willy.
As you're saying this, and as I'm saying this, I'm thinking, huh, like we should reach out and get them to open up for, like, yeah, to open up and to be able to do some tours for people while they're here. Maybe it might be part of our scavenger hunt that you have to dig something out from there. Yeah.
Oh, you've sold me on a scavenger hunt. You tell me a scavenger hunt, I will play in that sandbox for an hour. Now in the middle of the interview, you said that your safe haven is your house, your cabin. That's where you go to escape. But is there a place in the community you can go and just decompress, like actually get outside the house and just recenter yourself, focus, and just know that tomorrow morning you're going to have to get back up and try to make your community a little bit better than you left it the day before?
It still is within my home. I have a wonderful fireplace. I have a wall tent, and I do that. It's there. It's here. It's my space. I get very grounded being in my my yard, so to speak, in the view of the mountains, and it's here. Yeah.
That is awesome. Now I am so honored to that you sat down with me to talk about your community and talk about yourself prior to my arrival in Haines Junction in a few days. But I've got to ask one last question before I let you go. And you've answered it a lot during the interviews, but I want you to give me the elevator pitch, the pitch that I know every mayor knows how to give. In your opinion, what makes Haines Junction such a unique place to live, to work, and to raise a family?
Oh my goodness. I've said it, I don't know, several times, is the view that we have, like when I wake up in the morning and I can just look at this gorgeous mountains and I drink my cup of tea and I just bask in being so blessed to be in such a surrounding. The ability to just, 5 minutes and you're in the bush, like the wilderness is like right there. To go camping is like boom, 14 miles away, and then like it's like our backyard is such a beautiful hiking and canoeing, and it's just such an incredible space for that. We're close to Whitehorse, an hour and a half, which is the capital. So it's easy for parents to be able to take their kids, to various activities, whether it be, I know we have Taekwondo here, we have, we have the most incredible arena. If long time ago, if you were an RCMP coming into Haines Junction, it was like the criteria, because they only were here, could only be here for two years. The criteria would be, do you have a family with children so that they can play hockey? We are, we are I'm probably biased on this, but we are definitely a hockey town. Dawson City is up there also, but we're very much of a hockey town. So we have an incredible hockey community. For our small community, we have a rec league, so for such a small community, we do boast that. We have incredible trails, skiing and that hour and a half to Whitehorse to get all your groceries and to shop and things of that nature is really, we also have a doctor here, which is, we're very blessed. Not too many communities have a doctor. So we do have a doctor, and a great health center. We have incredible volunteers within our fire department, within our EMS, like we just have, it's just a great place to live, to be in, school's wonderful.
Well, I am so looking forward to being up in Haines Junction and seeing this up close and personal. You have painted a very vibrant picture for me and my listeners and my viewers. So, Mayor Diane, Diane Strand, Mayor Strand, good Diane, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for sitting down with me and talking about your beautiful community. And I'm so looking forward to meeting you in person in a few days.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chris, for giving me this opportunity. I love talking about where I'm from.
Thank you so much for tuning in for another episode of Cross Border Interviews. Now, we hope you've enjoyed today's conversation and gained some valuable insights from our guest. To stay in the loop with all of our latest episodes, don't forget to subscribe to the show in your favorite podcast application. Or if you're watching this on YouTube today, don't forget to hit that subscribe button now. Also, if you haven't already, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, or over on LinkedIn. You will not want to miss our social media exclusives. Now, for even more content and learn more about the stories and people we feature on this show, visit us online at crossborderinterviews.ca. Your support means the world to us. So share this episode with your friends, your family, and yes, even your community, and help keep the conversation going. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and we'll see you next time here on Cross Border Interviews. Till then, everyone.